was about you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in this state that has been described here in verse 6. Not because of any personal reason, because of his mission. Because who assigned him this mission? The one he loved the most, the one he feared the most, the one that he had most hope in, his Rabb. So what do we learn from this? We need to rise above petty issues, losses and gains of this dunya, and focus on the mission at hand. This also shows us the sincerity of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to his mission. We need to ask ourselves, how sincere are we? We claim to be his followers. Are we sincere in our following his ways, upholding his mission? And despite his sincerity, people rejected him. They didn't take his message seriously. And why does this happen? Many a times this happens, and it has happened in the past, it happens now, it will happen in the future as well. Many a times this happens because of being distracted too much by the dunya. Inna ja'alna ma 'ala al-ardi zinatan laha. Indeed, we have made that which is on the earth adornment for it. Linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amala, that we may test them as to which of them is best indeed. The term zina from zayyanun, zayyana means to adorn or to decorate, and zina itself means adornment. Zina is of three types: zina of the nafs, zina of the badan, and then there is external zina. Zina of the nafs includes knowledge. Knowledgeable people have a special kind of adornment, a special kind of attraction. Then there is zina of the badan, which is physical. It's in terms of appearance. And then there is external zina, which has to do with maybe something like what a person wears, what a person puts on. Could be clothing, could be accessories, etc. Right? Think about how much we like to decorate our homes. Although we know that these worldly homes are what? Temporary. Think of how much time and money is invested in, decorating homes, painting walls, arranging, the right kinds of lights and fixtures and curtains and blinds and carpets and furniture, and so much more. All of this is what? Zina. Inna ja'alna ma 'ala al-ardi zinatan laha. Indeed, we have made that which is on the earth adornment for it. Meaning whatever is on the earth, Allah has made it a zina. Think of everything that is on the earth, which includes human beings and all kinds of animals and plants, trees, rivers, mountains. Everything that Allah has created. A source of adornment. Why? As a test. This is so straightforward, so simple, so easy to understand, but really do many people understand this? When it comes to practical actions and choices and decisions and lifestyles? Not really. Inna ja'alna ma 'ala al-ardi zinatan laha. Indeed, we have made that which is on the earth adornment for it. Linabluwahum, that we may test them. Them meaning the people. So the people who see all of this may be tested. Will they end up getting lost in this zina? Or will they remember the one who sent them here with a purpose? The term linabluwahum from ba, lam, wahu. Bala yablu means to test or to try or to put to trial. Bala is also used for a difficult trial. And the term ahsan from ha, sin, nun. Ahsan meaning best. So the test is all about how good we can be, how good we can remain despite the distractions in this dunya because of all this zina. The test is about ahsan amal, not akthar, ahsan. So the test is not about how much you can do more and more and more and more. It's about how you do what you do. How well do you do it? Do you do a good job? As per whose definition? As per the definition of the one who created you. He defines what is ahsan amal and what is non-ahsan amal. Which is why you need to know about this. You need to gain knowledge. And ahsan amal is related to everything that we do, everything we think about also. Because actions are of two types. There are personal actions and then there are interpersonal actions. So when it comes to interpersonal actions, we interact with people. We also interact with our environment, don't we? So all of the blessings upon this earth are zina. And are also a test for people to see what people will do with these blessings. Do we use these blessings to serve Allah and become more pleasing to Him? Or do we start serving these things? So Allah informs us in the Qur'an that wealth and children are adornment. Al-malu wal-banuna zinatul hayatid dunya. But at the same time, they're also a test. So how do we choose to earn our wealth? What do we do with it? How do we raise our children? We're being tested with regards to all of these matters. Likewise, other blessings that Allah has granted to us, we're tested about them as well. For example, in Surah An-Nahl, we were reminded of many, many blessings, right? In verse number 8, we are reminded in Surah An-Nahl, وَالْخَيْلَ وَالْبِغَالَ وَالْحَمِيرَ لِتَرْكَبُوهَا وَزِينَةً. And He created the horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride and as adornment. Now, we might not be really regularly riding upon horses and mules and donkeys. We use cars. And these are also a source of zina, status symbol. You have a certain kind of a car, you're being tested through it. How do you use it? Do you make good use of it? Because of which you will be then rewarded? Do you use that car to go to the masjid so you can remember Allah? And do you take people along with you? Are you of service to other people? Or do you just let it, remain in your garage? You have to just keep it clean and shiny. And then you drive it around because you want to be seen in it. Then it can become a burden upon you. Because you're using this car for a wrong purpose. Similarly, whatever it is that a person has, even the body that you have, the intellect that you have, the knowledge that you have, it's an adornment as well as a test. The test is about who uses these blessings in the best ways, focusing on quality, not just only quantity. And if you use the blessings that you have, tangible and intangible blessings, in the best of ways, then this would be ahsan amal. And again, this doesn't mean that, don't focus on the dunya at all. Just neglect dunya. Whatever you have of the dunya, make sure you recognize its worth in the bigger picture, keeping the hereafter in mind. Invest it properly. Your heart should not be saturated with dunya only. And true piety is not allowing this dunya to enter into your heart such that it consumes your heart. Because if you allow that to happen, you're going to fail. Allah is observing the quality of our deeds. We learn that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, the world is sweet and green. Verily, Allah will make you successors in it to see how you will behave. Beware of the world and beware of women. Verily, the first trial of the children of Israel was with women. So, yes, we're tested through one another also. For men, a big fitna lies in women. But does that mean they have to fail every time in this particular aspect of their lives? No, they don't. If they choose to keep themselves away from this fitna and do only what is most pleasing to Allah, then that elevates their ranks. That's passing the test. And also, Allah will not look at the actions of the previous people, right? When it comes to your assessment, He will look at what you're doing. So your mindset should never become, I can just bank upon the righteousness of my parents and my grandparents, and I'll be fine. You need to focus on what you have been made responsible for doing. And think about this hadith, the world is sweet and green, meaning there are all kinds of attractions and temptations in this world. The adornment of this world pulls a person towards it, and this is a test. Successful is the one who saves himself from this pull. And especially after the Industrial Revolution, the adornment of things has intensified greatly. You walk into any simple grocery store also, and you look at the aisles and the shelves. You'll see so many different colors, so many different textures, a lot of zina. So the more dunya a person has access to, the more zina, the greater the test. But that does not mean that you have to then just fail. That doesn't mean you can say, but there's so much zina around me, so much adornment, what can I do, poor me, I just have to give in. Allah is looking at ahsan amal, the quality of what you're doing. He knows how much temptation you have and how difficult it is for you to pull yourself away from it. And He knows that you can do it. La yukallifu Allahu nafsan illa wus'aha. Allah does not burden any soul beyond its capacity. Inna ja'alna ma 'ala al-ardi zinatan laha linabluwahum ayyuhum ahsanu amala. Indeed, we have made that which is on the earth adornment for it, that we may test them as to which of them is best indeed. So successful is the one who lives here in this dunya, accepting what is here in this dunya, understanding this is darul amal, not darul jaza, using blessings here in this dunya to earn the hereafter, striving for darul jaza. And so we learn, Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he said this world, or this worldly life, is like a shadow. If you try to catch it, you'll never be able to do so. If you turn your back towards it, it has no choice but to follow you. He also said, the heart on its journey towards Allah is like that of a bird. Love is its head, and fear and hope are its two wings. When the head is healthy, the two wings will fly well. When the head is cut off, the bird will die. When either of the two wings is damaged, the bird becomes vulnerable to every hunter and predator. So what does that teach us? In order to become the best of the worshippers of Allah and to pass the tests here in this dunya, this zina-filled dunya, in order to make it when it comes to the hereafter and be amongst the chosen ones, the successful ones, make sure that you love Allah the most, you fear Him the most, and you have most hope in Him. وَإِنَّا لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدًا جُرُوزًا. And indeed we will make that which is upon it into a barren ground. Why? To establish the judgment after the test. Because yes, there is the test, but that also means that there is something after the test. There is a judgment, there is an assessment, there is reward and punishment. So here Allah mentions, indeed we will make that which is upon it, meaning upon the earth, into a barren ground. The term ja'ilun from jim ayn lam, plural of ja'il, and ja'ala means to make or to put. So here Allah mentions, indeed we will make that which is upon it, upon the earth, into a barren ground. Sa'idan juruza. The term sa'idan from sad ayn dal, su'ud means to ascend or to climb. And the term sa'id, as we've learned earlier also, is the top layer of the soil, the earth, the visible surface. So it will be brought to dust, leveled. And the term juruza from jim ra zay, Jaraza means to devour or to swallow up or to chop off or cut off. So juruz is used for such land that is barren and without vegetation, dry and dead. So here Allah mentions, indeed, we will make that which is upon it into a barren ground. After having made it adorned, we will destroy it. It will be flat, without any depressions or elevations. In Surah Taha, we learn in verses 105 to 107, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْجِبَالِ, and they ask you about the mountains. فَقُلْ يَنْسِفُهَا رَبِّي نَسْفًا. So say, my Lord will blow them away with a blast, and He will leave the earth قَعًا صَفْصَفًا, a level plain. لَا تَرَى فِيهَا عِوَجًا وَلَا أَمْتًا. You will not see therein a depression or an elevation. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says, this means everything on it will be wiped out and destroyed. Mujahid said this means it'll be a dry and barren plain. Qatada, he said this means it'll be a plain on which there are no trees or vegetation, leveled ground. So on one side is the zina, the adornment of this life, this dunya, and on the other side is nothing. And we know we experience a small glimpse of this every single year as the seasons change. When the summer enters, everything is blooming, blossoming. The trees are gleaming with all of their freshness, greenery. But then what happens? That all slowly and gradually changes until the fall arrives. The colors of the leaves change. The leaves fall down. And then it seems as if nothing is there. Everything is barren. In Surah Yunus, we learn in verse number 24, إِنَّمَا مَثَلُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا كَمَاءٍ أَنزَلْنَاهُ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ. The example of this worldly life is but like rain, which we have sent down from the sky, that the plants of the earth absorb. Those from which men and livestock eat, until when the earth has taken on its adornment, زُخْرُفَهَا, and is beautified, and its people suppose that they have capability over it. There comes to it our command by night or by day, and we make it as a harvest, as if it had not flourished yesterday. Thus do we explain in detail the signs for a people who give thought. And it happens in the dunya. Sometimes you look at, an amazing plant, an amazing tree, and maybe it's actually like glowing because of, the beautiful colors of the leaves, orange, yellow, red. And you tell yourself, it's so beautiful, I'm going to take a picture of this. And you're like, no, but it's not the right time. In the daytime, I'll take a picture when it's bright. And you wake up in the morning and you find that most of the leaves are fallen off. The tree doesn't look the same. This is the reality of this worldly life. So Allah has favored us with a great blessing, the blessing of the Qur'an. And for it we praise Him. We say Alhamdulillah. Because this Qur'an has no deviance. It is straightforward and it also straightens. It is qayyim. And this book warns of severe punishment in the hereafter, and it also gives glad tidings to the believers. And then this book also refutes shirk and the statements of the mushrikeen. And then the attitude of a da'i, a sincere da'i, is described. A sincere da'i takes the message of the Qur'an very seriously. A grateful person who's grateful for this blessing of the Qur'an will share the message of the Qur'an with others upon receiving it. If you want to check how grateful you are for this message, check how much you want to share this with other people. How keen are you? And if you're somebody who's always making excuses, not yet, not me, how can I, what do I know? Maybe you're not really as grateful for this blessing. And what distracts people from the Qur'an? Glitter of this dunya, glamour of this dunya. It's temporary charms. And this attraction has been placed in this dunya to test us, so that we understand that yes, this is how the dunya has been created, and we don't get trapped into it. We strive towards the hereafter. We focus on ahsan amal. Because a day will come when this world will end. If not today, then some other day. But that ending is coming. So we need to think about what our attitude with this book should actually be. What our approach towards it should actually be. We also learn in Surah Al-A'raf, verses 175 to 179, وَاتْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ, and recite to them, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the news of him to whom we gave knowledge of our signs, but he detached himself from them. فَانْسَلَخَ مِنْهَا فَأَتْبَعَهُ الشَّيْطَانِ, so shaitan pursued him, and he became of ghawin, the deviators. And if we had willed, we could have elevated him thereby, but he adhered instead to the earth and followed his own desire. So his example is like that of the dog. If you chase him, he pants, or if you leave him, he still pants. That is the example of the people who denied our signs. So relate the stories that perhaps they will give thought. How evil an example is that of the people who denied our signs and used to wrong themselves. Whoever Allah guides, he is rightly guided. And whoever he sends astray, it is those who are the losers. And we have certainly created for hell many of the jinn and mankind. They have hearts with which they do not understand. They have eyes with which they do not see. And they have ears with which they do not hear. They are like livestock. Rather, they are even more astray. It is those who are the ghafilun. So these verses of Surah Al-Kahf, the beginning verses, bring us out from heedlessness. So who are the successful people? Those who, while living here in this dunya, hold on to the Qur'an and they follow it. And if you think about how Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was deeply concerned about people rejecting this message of the Qur'an, not accepting it, not receiving it well, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is given reassurance. The problem is not with the message. The Qur'an is qayyim. It's straightforward. It's easy to receive, but you have to want to receive it. The problem is also, in many cases, too much attraction to this dunya, which consumes people to such an extent that they do not think outside the box. But the reality, again, is that this dunya will come to an end. And then people will be left with what? Their deeds. Ahsan and also non-ahsan. And then they will be facing what? The accountability. That's serious. Also, when you think about the fact that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, whoever memorizes 10 verses from the beginning of Surah Al-Kahf will be protected from the Dajjal. And from another narration, we learned that he said from the last 10 verses of Surah Al-Kahf. Dajjal will bring with him what? A lot of fitan. He's the biggest fitna. Right? So he will bring with him many temptations, many illusions, a lot of deception. And so, as protection, what do we need? A realistic, sound way of looking at this dunya. That's what we need. Because if we don't look at the dunya the way that we should, we're not going to do in this dunya what we need to do. And then we can easily be led astray by the likes of Dajjal. And if not Dajjal himself, those who are like him in terms of, taking people away from the right track, misguiding people. Let's listen to the recitation of these verses.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وَإِنَّا لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدًا جُرُزًا.
When it comes to the fitna of Dajjal, there are two extremes found in this matter. One is of those who deny his existence completely. And then there are those who have made up some information without much evidence about what Dajjal or who Dajjal is referring to. We learn that Abu Hurairah, he reports, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when any one of you utters the tashahhud in prayer, he must seek refuge with Allah from 4 trials. And he should say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr, wa min adhab jahannam, wa min fitnatil mahya wal mamat, wa min sharri fitnatil masih ad-dajjal. O Allah, I seek refuge with you from the torment of the hellfire, from the torment of the grave, from the trial of life and death, and from the evil of the trial of Masih ad-Dajjal. The term Dajjal is from Dajjala. Dajjala means to mix. And the word Dajjala is used to mean deliberately confusing matters and being vague and being ambiguous. It's taken from the expression Dajjal al-Ba'ir. He smeared the camel, meaning he covered it with tar. So Dajjal is the title given to the one who deceives people and lies, the false Messiah. And he is called Dajjal because he will conceal his kufr from the people by lying to them, deceiving them, confusing them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, while I was sleeping, I saw myself performing tawaf around the Kaaba. When I saw a dark man with straight hair standing between 2 other men, with water dripping from his head, I asked, who is this? They said, the son of Maryam, meaning Isa. Then I turned and saw a ruddy complexioned man, well built, with curly hair, blind in his right eye, with his eye looking like a floating grape. I asked, who is this? They said, this is the Dajjal. The person who looks most like him is Ibn Qatan. And Ibn Qatan was a man from the Banu Mustalaq, from the Khuza'a. Then also we learn, Abdullah ibn Umar, he narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned the Dajjal to the people, and he said, Allah is not one-eyed. Allah is not one-eyed. But Dajjal is one-eyed, blind or defective in his right eye, with his eye looking like a floating grape. Then also, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Dajjal will be one-eyed, blind or defective in his eye, with thick hair. He will have with him a paradise and a hell, but his hell will be a paradise and his paradise will be a hell. Again, what does that show? He will bring with him a lot of deception. Then also we learn Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, no prophet was sent, but he warned his people about the one-eyed liar, meaning Dajjal. He is one-eyed, but your Lord is not one-eyed. And between his eyes will be written Kafir, Kaf, Fa, Ra. Meaning it will be easy to identify him as Dajjal. But who will be able to identify him as Dajjal? Those who are mu'mineen, those who are believers. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave clear descriptions of Dajjal. Then also, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, I know what the Dajjal will bring with him. He will have 2 rivers flowing. One will clearly look like water and the other will clearly look like blazing fire. If any one of you sees that, let him choose the river which looks like fire, then let him close his eyes and lower his head and drink from it, for it will be cool water. So again, he will bring with him a lot of deception. And of course, there are many, many ahadith related to Dajjal and the signs that he will bring, the power that he is going to be given. Also, Seeing the Dajjal, meeting him, encountering him is nothing that a true believer should long for. In fact, as per the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one should want to avoid him because he will carry with him a lot of trial. He will bring with him a lot of trial. And of course, we learn from authentic ahadith that eventually he is going to be killed by Isa alayhi salam, who will descend before the Day of Judgment. Okay. Your reflection question related to these verses is, what is my attitude towards the Qur'an? How sincere am I to the mission of learning and promoting it? What do my griefs and sorrows revolve around? My whole life is a test. How am I doing so far? Are my deeds ahsan? How can I make my deeds ahsan? Action points: memorize the first 10 verses of Surah al-Kahf along with the running translation. Then also make note of one important lesson from these verses. Take this as a gem and try to share this using social media. Okay? All right, discuss amongst yourselves what you learned, and we'll hear some reflections before we conclude. Okay, what did you reflect upon? Let's hear a few reflections before we conclude. What did you learn for yourself? What did you reflect upon?
Assalamualaikum.
Walaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
I just want to say about I think the ayah from Surah Al-Araf. You're saying from it mentioned the story about it. I just want to mention it because about someone who was given he was given a lot of knowledge, and that was a test, and there was this situation that happened in his life. He it was also another test, but he used it in a wrong way. He used his knowledge in a wrong way, and it the way it was said, oh, فَانْسَلَخَ مِنْهَا, it's the meaning of it is when it's completely being separated from the teachings of Allah and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just he used it was a test. His ilm was a test, and the test where he was just given to use his ilm in the right way, he failed it, and he used it in a wrong way.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, so we're tested through our knowledge also. We're tested through faith also. When you become a believer, you're tested. In terms of what will you actually prefer? What will you strive for? With knowledge comes test. With wealth comes test. With authority comes tests. Right? Yes, Sister Shabana.
During lunchtime, I received a message from a friend. At night, actually, she texted me that her husband is very sick and he was in Pakistan. And she texted me this afternoon that he passed away. She was like my sister.
Mm-hmm.
And since I came to Canada, the whole life I saw him struggling, to pass the test as a pharmacist. As soon as he passed the test and he got the job, and he went back to Pakistan. and he got pharmacy here and everything. And the whole money they were just sending back to Pakistan. And his dream was to build a factory, medicine factory to make it. And last month, when I came back from Egypt, my friend told me, Alhamdulillah, our factory started working and we got the first order. And when I was reading these ayats, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً. So the whole life, they were sending money to make that factory. And he couldn't see the factory is running.
Yeah.
And this wealth and everything is just gonna stay here.
Mm-hmm. And if it is that a person strove to acquire that wealth in halal ways and endured patience, you endured all of this with patience and, gave the rights of the family members, was mindful in terms of zakah, alhamdulillah, this is recorded as ahsan amal. Right? So, but if it is that in some cases that doesn't happen, a person is only focusing on the dunya, how they acquire their wealth, they don't care. And this is something that goes against them. That's failing the test. And people's tests are different, right? People are tested on with regards to different matters in life. So we need to realize, we need to recognize the reality of this dunya. Everybody is going through a test. We're all being tested. Are we moving towards passing those tests? By loving Allah the most, fearing Him the most, and having most amount of hope in Him? Or are we tying all of our love and fear and hope to just this dunya and everything it has to offer? That's loss. We need to rise above this, above the dunya, right? And strive towards pleasing the Creator. There is no obedience of the creation in the disobedience of the Creator. May Allah make us all of those who are the most grateful of His worshippers and the ones who are given tawfiq to perform righteous deeds. Ameen. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله